Hello everyone and welcome. My name is FoxFox and this is episode 0 of a new Long War 2 campaign. By episode 0 I mean that this will not be any gameplay in this video. This will just be a short introduction video to go through all the mods I'm using and all the changes I've done to the campaign, which are quite extensive. That's why I'm making this video. So if you're only interested in watching gameplay and want to dive right into that, just jump on to the next video. If you want to hear the details about which mods I'm using and the motivations a little bit of why I've done the changes I've done, stick around. So first I will show you a little list of the mods that I am playing with. So as you can see, of course, Long War 2 as the core mod, and then we have a group of other gameplay mods. Overwatch, Tier 3 grenades, and then we have 3 different guest enemy, alien pack and guest enemies to increase the variety of aliens and quite noticeably increase the challenge as well, as most of the modding I have done has been for the purpose of making the campaign more interesting and definitely a lot harder. There's a couple of these mods that makes the game slightly easier, but it promotes a gameplay that I prefer in the game. The one I'm referring to is the Peek from Concealment. It's definitely something that makes it all more comfortable to play, but I've done quite significant changes to make the game harder so that more than balance up for it. Also implemented Tier 3 grenades, as that is an interesting thing at the absolute end game, because the grenades tend to fall off a little bit then. And yeah, they're not that much stronger anyway, but it makes it more interesting. They're more useful at least. Tier 2 Gatekeeper, Rift Keeper is implemented. That also increases challenge and in the end game. Some more map packs as well, that increases variety. That's always fun. And I'm also playing with the Stalker class, which I find to be one of the very few balanced and interesting classes I found, of all the ones I've tried out at least. It is practically a mix between an assault and a shinobi. It does not by any means get the best of both classes. It does not have any sword, it does not have any run and gun, so you don't have that extreme offensive capabilities, but they do have concealment like the shinobis, and they have passive perks that they get on rank ups that increase their mobility. So they are very, very fast and good to use as scouts in general, and yeah, flanking with shotguns for example. So they're an interesting class. And moving on to some utility mods. I'm not going to go through every single one here. You can read them and check. Most of them are there for comfort. Many of them doesn't change anything in the game at all. I don't think any of these change anything in the game, actual gameplay or strategy at all. It's just more comfort, instant menus, more fun squad icons, changes like this. And on the bottom here I also listed the voice packs I have in, because you're going to be hearing quite some different spoofy voices, which just brings a little fun flavor to it, and a couple of the voices matches people's personalities quite well of the my own created soldiers, which is like myself, friends and supporters that got soldiers in the pool for me. And that is about it. So now anyone could install all of these mods and start a campaign. But that campaign would be very, very different from the campaign I'm going to be playing, because like I said, in addition to these mods I've done extensive changes to the numbers myself. So this is for the purpose of increasing the challenge and extending engagements. Because something I always disliked in the core Long War 2 vanilla is that engagement tend to be over almost instantly. You activate a pod almost regardless of if you did it in a good way or a bad way on their turn or your turn. You could take out the whole pod in the same turn or disable whatever is left of it, and aliens rarely get to take any good shots against you. And I found this to be a little unexciting after a while, so I would like to mod it in a way that engagements become longer, more challenging, and with that increasing the difficulty of the game. Simply by allowing enemies to take more actions, you're putting yourself at risk a lot more often, which means, yeah, you're gonna get more injured, and that will increase the difficulty. So the easiest way of doing this would be to simply increase the HP of everything. So both your soldiers and the aliens, increasing the HP of both would mean engagement would take a longer time. So this is a little bit hand-wavingly what I have done. But so the soldiers are all slightly better on almost every stat and noticeably a little bit more durable. That doesn't mean that you cannot be one-shot. You can definitely be flanked and one-shot by things, or two-shot by a grenade and a follow-up shot. So it's not increased by that much. You're definitely still at risk. It's, like I said, designed to be harder, not easier. And aliens are boosted, of course, even more. I'm going to show you an example or two of this because yeah, I can't go through every single number I've changed. That would take very, very long. But one thing I felt lacking in the game was some form of mini bosses challenging things. And in almost every mission you do encounter an officer, an Advent officer. But I always thought that these were way, way too weak. So I wanted to make them into a sort of mini boss that you will encounter in almost every mission. And so I will show you an example of the stats I've changed. Let me take down the mod list, and I will take up and I will take this one. Will cover me, I think. Yeah, there we go. So on the left hand side you see the original stats for Advent Captain here, and you see that they have 6 HP, 12 mobility, 65 aim. That's the base stats of an officer on M1, of course. And I have changed this, as you see on the right side. This is just for the different 3 difficulties. I have done all my changes just to 1 difficulty in most cases, in this one all 3, but so it will not make a difference which difficulty I choose in my campaign. It'll be the same. So it's mostly just edited in difficulty 2, but makes no difference. And in my campaign the M1 officers will have 18 HP instead of 6. So I straight up tripled that. And instead of 65 aim, they will have 78 aim. This will make them quite a lot more interesting to deal with. You have to either focus to deal with them, or you have to deal with the rest of the pod they're in and then deal with them. In either case, the engagement will become longer, enemies will get to take more actions, it'll become quite a lot more interesting, quite fast. And these boosts will scale to even higher numbers on M2 and M3. M2s have 30 HP, for example. So if you don't keep up with your teching, you will have troubles pretty quickly, which is the intention. But like I said, this is one of the aliens that I've boosted the absolute most. This is absolutely not the change for everything. Most normal basic Advent soldiers just had their HP increased by 1 or 2, a little bit more on the M2, M3s. But just having 1 more HP on a trooper makes a big difference often early game, because it means that you don't one-shot them. You simply need to take 2 shots instead of 1. It takes twice as long to kill the pod then. And let's jump down to mechs. I wanted to show the base stats for them as a good example as well. 490. There we go. Advent Mech M1. And I memorized the line numbers to save a little scrolling time. There we go. So a mech on basic stats have 1 armor, 7 HP, 12 mobility, 70 aim. I have changed this to 2 armor, 9 HP, 14 mobility and 75 aim. This makes mechs early game quite the challenge, because you will still be on conventional weapons most likely when you start having to deal with mechs. And then having 2 armor instead of 1 means that you almost have to have some form of shred. Otherwise it'll be quite a struggle to take down 9 HP if you're shooting them for 3-4 and dealing 1 or 2 damage per shot, while they at the same time are even more dangerous towards you. So that's just 2 examples, right? Everything is changed. Mutons are boosted quite a lot as well. Berserkers are also boosted in their HP. Chrysalids are not changed very much. They have slightly increased HP only, but not in any great numbers. Vipers have their well, all types of snakes, Sidewinders, Vipers, have their aim increased noticeably, so they become more dangerous when they get to fire, which they will get to fire a lot more now. So this is a bit of the changes I've done, and as a follow-up to these changes, when I did balance testing myself, I noticed that there's a couple of other things I had to change to keep it simply working. The first thing I noticed was reinforcements. If I, let me take down these things so you get to watch this pretty video with one of my soldiers. Alright, reinforcements is an issue because if you extend the duration of all engagement and makes the game more challenging, reinforcements are gonna start dropping in a lot earlier than you can deal with them, and there's just no stopping them then in the end. So I did simply push them back, so all the reinforcements are delayed in all missions, but at the same time, since all aliens are boosted, when the reinforcements will come, they will be a lot more dangerous. As a follow-up to this, I also extended the timer on all missions quite extensively because I didn't like the timer aspect very much of the game, that you will be rushed so much because that ruins the stealth aspect to the game. But I do think it's important that there should be a timer, so you cannot cheese the game too much with just Overwatch trapping and waiting forever and that kind of stuff. So there is timers, they're long, but it still means that you don't have an indefinite amount of time, and reinforcements is still a thing. What are other important changes? Yeah, they will come up, changes I've done. Like I said, I don't remember every number I've changed, but if you want to see the changes I've done themselves, if you're a person that like to look into the code and change the INI files yourself, or if you just want to know about it, a specific change I've done, I will put a link to the files, the INI files that I will be using, and well, the mod list you can see here. I will also put a link to my Twitch channel, which I will be streaming this campaign. So this campaign will be live streamed and then recorded and put on YouTube. That is at least the plan for now. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you around. Enjoy.